Previously, on Mass Effect 3, we recovered the plans for the Crucible. Today we're going to look at space. Not outer space, though there's plenty of that around, but how Mass Effect 3 uses physical space. In particular we'll be talking about the Citadel, an iconic location, and I think the only one that shows up in all three games.
Barely got a pulse here.
Move him out.
Where are you taking her?
Where to Memorial. Best care in the Citadel.
We're not going with?
We need to see the Council.
Right. Looks like they might be coming to see you.
Commander Shepard. Got word you were arriving.
Captain Bailey, good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Though it's Commander now.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Now half my job is dealing with political bullshit and escorting dignitaries around. No offense.
None taken. So, you're here to bring us to the Council?
I'm here to tell you the Council is expecting you, but they are dealing with their own problems with the war and everything. They apologize for the inconvenience and blah, 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 blah. Meet them here at Udina's office. They'll be ready soon enough.
All right.
You might have time to go by the medical center if you want to check on progress over there.
Thanks, I might do that.
You go on ahead. I'll head up to Udina's office.
One of my men can show you the way. You?
I'm just a tourist today. I'll try not to get in any trouble.
Commander, we've got a situation in the embassy quarters. We could use your help.
I'll be right there. The other half of my job. I'll see you around, Shepard.
No doubt.
I don't know if any of you read the Anti-Pixelante blog post I linked in the last video. At the time of recording, I haven't published it yet. But one of the generally useful points is that game design is a subtle business. You can shape and control a player's reactions to stimuli through very simple visual and audio cues. In some respects, it has certain similarities to aspects of nudge theory, a concept in behavioural science and political theory by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. Previously, I've talked about this in relation to teaching mechanics, but it's also relevant in terms of semiotics, the study of the meaning of signs and symbols, and how games convey narrative and invoke emotional responses.
Recent intel suggests that the entire Batarian hegemony has been destroyed by an unknown force.
Shepard, there you are.
Dr. Chokwas is a returning character from previous games, and here I'm going to recruit her to help on board the Normandy. She doesn't provide any mechanical benefit, but she's available as a character to talk to.
I came as fast as I could.
We had a run-in with the Cerberus synthetic on Mars. Ashley took the worst of it. How's she doing?
Very well, all things considered. I'm impressed with Lieutenant Commander Williams' resilience, as well as Dr. Michel's expertise. I wish I could have been there to help on Mars.
It's been 6 months, Doctor. How have you been?
Good. I've been fortunate. When they impounded Normandy, the Alliance didn't really know what to do with me. I was never officially part of Cerberus, and I'd gotten a proper leave of absence from my previous post.
So you hadn't technically done anything wrong by joining me to defeat the Collectors?
Yes, though I suppose if you were judged to be a war criminal, I would have been tried as an accessory.
Your place is in Normandy's medbay, not some lab.
I couldn't agree more. You say the word and I'm with you.
The Normandy wouldn't be the same without you, Doctor. Get your things. Docking Bay D-24.
Yes, Commander. And thank you.
Don't thank me so soon. Remember, Joker is still aboard.
And I'd be surprised if he's been remembering his medication.
Reports indicate that Earth has fallen to the same enemy force that attacked Batarian space.
Commander Shepard.
If you refuse Chocolates, Dr. Michelle from Mass Effect 1 can be recruited on board in her place,
How's Ashley doing?
though I'm not sure why you'd really want to do that.
But we reduced the swelling quickly. These types of injury can go either way. She hasn't regained consciousness yet, but her vitals are strong, so I'm optimistic. You can go see her if you like. She's just down the hall.
Keep up the good work, Doctor.
You too, Commander.
Incursions by enemy forces are being
Let's look at Huerta Memorial Hospital and how it uses physical space. It's very long, narrow, constrained space, essentially a very wide corridor. It's full of people, equipment, benches and beds. There's a lot of open, empty space outside the windows, but it's inaccessible and only highlights how little room is inside. It also feels precarious. This hospital, full of sick people, is suspended over the length of the entire Citadel. I don't like it as a space. It feels impractical, uncomfortable. I just keep wondering about the logistics of it all. If a doctor is paged to another ward, would they have to walk the entire length of the hospital just to get there? It's distracting, which is bad, when we're supposed to be focused on our emotional response to the Vermeer survivor's injury and recovery.
You got pretty banged up there, Williams. Had me worried. I just wanted to check in on you. See how you're doing. You hang in there, all right? I need you up and reporting for duty ASAP. You hear me, soldier? You need anything, Doc. Let me know. Okay, Ash. You take care. I'll see you soon.
Early reports indicate that Earth has fallen to the same enemy force. Are being reported in Turian colonies, fighting is said to have reached Paladin. Ilium is under attack, although the assigned colonies.
Welcome, Commander Shepard. Please select a destination. One moment, please. Now arriving at Presidium Embassy.
It's a similar situation in the Citadel Embassy, again cramped, claustrophobic. What becomes apparent is how little free space there is. These offices are used in later quests. These areas have side quests dispensed from nearby NPCs, who talk aloud as soon as I approach.
Primacy that the Vol Protectorate wishes to assist with the Alliance project. We had a Prothean obelisk that might have helped. Sadly, it was lost in the Shrike Abyssal. Nevertheless, we are committed to helping both the Turian and
Early reports indicate that Earth has fallen to the same enemy force that attacked Batarian space.
There's almost nowhere that's not got something going on, nowhere that can just be the Citadel embassies. And this makes the area feel claustrophobic in a different way again, when you realise the only offices here are Udina's and Commander Bailey's. There's no room to breathe.
Commander, Councillor Udina said you'd be coming. If you'll follow me, the Council is already in session.
We've got our own problems, Councillor. Earth is not in this alone.
But Earth was the first Council world hit. By our reports, it faces the brunt of the attack.
By your reports.
The Council are quite interesting. In theory, they're your superiors. Your only superiors, in fact. However, for much of Mass Effect 1, you are arguing with them or defending your actions to them. you probably took more orders from Admiral Hackett. And this trend only increases with Mass Effect 2 and 3. We're at the point now where even the nice Counselor, the Asari, is full on cold towards us. You even get a similar dynamic if you let the old Council die. A couple of people, at least one in the thread, have suggested this negative portrayal of the Council is because Mass Effect is fascist. Politicians can't be trusted, only soldiers can. I agree, but there's also another reason why BioWare might have wanted to paint the Council as obstructive and short-sighted, which will come out later across the game.
We're still piecing it together, but it appears to be a weapon of some sort.
Capable of destroying the Reapers?
So it would seem.
The scales. It would be a colossal undertaking.
No. I forwarded the plans to Admiral Hackett. The remnants of the human fleet are already gathering resources to begin construction.
Our initial calculations suggest it is very feasible to build.
If we work together.
Have you considered that the Reapers destroyed the Protheans? What good did this weapon do?
It was incomplete. There was a missing component, here. Something referred to only as the catalyst. But they ran out of time before they could finish building it.
Do you really believe this can stop the Reapers?
It sure as hell beats standing around and arguing about it. And Udina's right. We need to stand together. Now more than ever. The Reapers won't stop at Earth. They'll destroy every organic being in the galaxy if we don't find a way to stop them.
The cruel and unfortunate truth is that while the Reapers focus on Earth, we can prepare and regroup.
We are convening a summit amongst our species. If we can manage to secure our own borders, we may once again consider aiding.
I'm sorry, Commander. That is the best we can do.
Shepard, meet me in my office.
I hope that's an offer of support. I'll be digging up what I can on this Prothean device, Shepard.
They're a bunch of self-concerned jackasses, Shepard. We may have a spot on the Council, but humanity will always be considered second-rate.
How can they be so blind?
They're scared, and they're looking out for themselves.
Our people are scared, and we are looking out for them the best we know how.
Counselor?
Commander, I can't give you what you need, but I can tell you how to get it.
I'm listening.
Primarch Fedorian called the War Summit, but we lost contact with him when the Reapers hit Palaven. Those meetings won't proceed without him. The Normandy is one of the few ships that can extract Primarch Fedorian undetected.
I told you this would happen, and you did nothing.
We can argue the past later if you like. But the leaders of this summit will be the ones deciding our future. The fate of our fleets, where they fight, and with whom. A grateful Primarch would be a tremendous ally in your bid to unite us.
We're at war. And you want me to play politician?
If it gets you what you need, what does it matter? Our latest intelligence says that the Primarch was moved to a base on Palaven's largest moon. I've done all I can to help. The rest is up to you. There is one other thing. The Council has agreed to reinstate your Spectre status. And various resources will be made available to you. Good day.
Well, that went well.
It's a start. I'll talk to the others in the meantime. See if we can support this summit. Move things along.
Thanks.
The Council. You saved their lives. And for what?
Udina's probably at his most sympathetic in this conversation. I think most people look poorly upon him for his dismissiveness back in Mass Effect 2, but he's always been characterised as a bit of a knob. In fairness, he doesn't really have a choice. Part of the fun of being an unaccountable secret agent is to have an ornery bureaucratic middle manager like Udina to belittle and
I will
ignore.
get what funding I can, what materials I can, and spread the message. Help the humans, help yourselves. I'll institute a draft in our colonies and order all civilian ships armed. Work on the Prothean device will be around the clock.
What's your read on the counselors? Any angles I could pursue?
Tavos is a diplomat and compromiser, but she's wrapped up in defending Asari space like a mother panther. Valern is out of his depth. The Solarians like their wars won before they start. They're frightened now. Use that. In Sparatus, I'd take what he offers. It's strange days when the Turians are the least hostile to humans, and there's a need there.
You're a Citadel counselor. Don't you have options when the others block you like this?
With Parliament destroyed and Shastri gone, I have more power than any human in history. But today, you saw how little that is. Rest assured, I will not be counted out long. I know I can move mountains. Do not lose sight of that, because the task before us is moving planets.
That sounds like you won't succeed. I helped you into this office because I thought you'd be effective.
You need a carrot or a stick to drive a mule, and humanity has neither right now. Our armada is tied down fighting or fleeing, and with Earth's comm buoys gone, our economy is reduced to an IOU. But leave that part to me. I will lean on our colonies for all they're worth, and I can broker enough trade to repair and resupply Hackett's fleet.
Any news from Earth?
There is constant news. All of it bad. The Reapers are destroying satellites and the old nuclear missile silos, along with everything else that could help. We have a handful of quantum entanglers spread out over the continents. All other communication is cut.
Did you know a lot of people on Earth?
Many. It's monstrous to think of them being snuffed out, of course, but the part that gets me is Arcturus. I must have known most of the Alliance Parliament on a first-name basis. I required a second VI just to track all their birthdays and anniversaries. Rose Garden stuff, but to have it all gone.
I should go.
I'll be here.
The Spectre office is a place for players to purchase high-end upgrades, items that they didn't pick up on missions, and also to test out weapons, read text fluff pieces about the war, and occasionally complete minor side quests. I'm going to show you a couple more areas on the Citadel. Initially you can only access the hospital and the embassies, but 3 more areas, a refugee bay, a nightclub, and the Presidium Commons, become available after you complete a couple of the main story missions. Which makes sense really, it stops the player from being overwhelmed straight away. Check out the shared aesthetic, the clean lines, the colour choices, the curves and gentle angles, and try not to peek at spoilers. While you watch, I'm also going to talk a bit more about space. So the way BioWare has approached space has changed a lot since they published Baldur's Gate back in 1998. Baldur's Gate took a very naturalistic approach to modelling the game world. Every house could be entered, every tile on the world map had a corresponding area. The city itself was huge and full of spaces to visit, not all of them were interesting. The sequel, Baldur's Gate 2, changed tack. There were no filler wilderness areas or empty houses. The city of Afkatla was split into 5 districts, each providing a snapshot of a different area of the city, very different to the 9 contiguous areas of Baldur's Gate. The Armnish countryside was represented by a handful of outdoor areas. In contrast, the Sword Coast wilderness areas outside Baldur's Gate probably made up about half the original game. You can split BioWare games based on how they attempt to model the game world. Baldur's Gate, Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect 1, Neverwinter Nights, all of them take a naturalistic approach where the game encapsulates, or tries to encapsulate, the whole of the imagined game world. There are no unseen spaces in between. The edge of one area directly translates to the edge of another area. It's very similar to the Elder Scrolls games, or The Witchers, or the Ultima series. Baldur's Gate 2, later Mass Effects, Dragon Age, its later games, take a more representative approach, where you only see the areas relevant to the player. You don't see the streets in between districts, or the other councillors' offices. I don't blame BioWare for streamlining the geography. Asset generation is expensive, and there was a lot of cruft in Baldur's Gate, a lot of time wasting. Just think of all the hours spent waiting in the Citadel elevators, or the long walks to find characters all across the Presidium in Mass Effect 1. I'm not personally a fan of games trying to maintain fidelity to an imagined game world. I'd rather the game focus on providing an enjoyable experience. But there are other things to consider. A common criticism of Mass Effect 2 is that it's a linear corridor shooter, that it feels very artificial because all combat is telegraphed by the presence of waist-high walls, and this is a come down from Mass Effect 1. Now, to me, that's quite silly. It's a conceit of the genre. Platformers have platforms, fighting games have fighting arenas, and cover shooters have cover. But the area design of the two games does reflect the different philosophies, naturalistic and representative, and also impacts the combat design. In Mass Effect 1, the hope was that the naturalistic, wide-open arenas would encourage multiple approaches to a situation. You could charge in and blast away, sidle up and attack from cover, or snipe from a distant hill. It allows for very expressive and creative exploratory play from players, but it's not very fulfilling tactically as a challenge of skills. Mass Effect 2 is the reverse, very structured combat arenas that are representative rather than actual, with limited approaches, but a much closer and better relationship to gameplay mechanics. You're led by the nose, but the upshot is it's easier for designers to create memorable encounters. They know where the player will probably be, and can design the AI to account for that. Think of Valve and the Marine AI in the original Half-Life. I'm getting a little bit off topic here. One thing that I hope is obvious here is how much more open these free Citadel areas are compared to the hospital and the embassies. Strictly speaking, the Citadel in Mass Effect 3 is probably bigger than it's ever been and more full of content, but the way people process this content, the way it's presented, leaves them feeling as though they've experienced less content. Areas feel oppressively small because they're too full, and because they're parcelled out one at a time. Side quests feel rushed because they proceed at their own pace, and not the players. Strictly speaking, there's no less to the side missions than any fetch quests in Fallout or Dragon Age, but because they're given to the player automatically just for walking by, and because they're completed by tapping the spacebar once, they feel somehow less. It's weird. It's like these areas are almost too efficient, too good at giving out content to the player quickly and easily.
Liara, can I help you?
I've been forwarding the Turian Counselor information on the Prothean device. It can't be built without Council support, but he's not budging until their Primarch is safe.
I know.
Are you all right?
I didn't get what you'd call a good night's rest.
There's more to it than that, isn't there? What's really bothering you?
When the Reapers hit, I could hear people screaming in the streets below me. We left a lot of them behind.
There's no way for you to save them all. But I know you're doing everything you can, and you'll get back there in time to help.
I hope you're right.
Don't blame yourself, Commander.
Commander Shepard, I'm Specialist... Oh. I beg your pardon. I thought you were alone.
I was just leaving.
Commander Shepard, I'm Comm Specialist Samantha Traynor with Alliance R&D. I was part of the team retrofitting the Normandy after you turned it over to the Alliance. There weren't many of us aboard when the Reapers hit.
I need the Normandy functional. What exactly have you done to my ship?
We upgraded communications and removed most of the Cerberus tech, Commander.
Meaning?
The ship's in line with Alliance regs now, and it has new, top-of-the-line quantum entanglement communicators. In fact, Admiral Anderson had intended to use the Normandy as his mobile command center.
That's no longer an option.
Yes, I heard he chose to stay and fight. In any event, I'm honored to serve under you, Commander. For as long as you need me, that is. They only sent me here to oversee the retrofits.
Shepard, some of our systems require further testing, and Specialist Traynor has been extremely effective during installation. I would prefer that she remain.
Got it, Edie.
Oh, wait, since when does a virtual intelligence make requests?
Edie's an AI, fully self-aware.
Oh, I knew it. I knew Joker was lying.
Jeff requested that I pretend to be a simple VI to protect myself. I apologize for the deception.
Thanks, Edie, and I apologize for all those times I talked about how... attractive your voice was.
Who says this? Who talks like that about people's voices? Traynor is the lesbian love interest for the game. Sadly, she's also the most written like a character from one of Joss Whedon's shows. It's usually the Dragon Age team at BioWare that can't help writing all their characters, like snarky, incoherent teenagers. But I suppose some bad writing would inevitably bleed over.
The shuttle bay contains an armory where you can modify your equipment between missions. Finally, Liara has set up a lot of hardware down in the old XO office on Deck 3. I think she's claimed that room. And there you are. Still the same ship as before, it just flies Alliance colors now. Speaking of which, I believe Admiral Hackett would like to speak to you at the VidCom.
Commander, Udina updated me on your meeting with the Council. Sounds like they're running scared.
We did present them with a lot of unknowns. They're feeling threatened and want immediate solutions, not theories.
Theories are all we've got right now. What's your plan?
I'm trying to get the Turian Primarch for a summit meeting with the Asari and Solarians. I'll bypass the Council and appeal directly to their leadership.
That's good, I like it. This is where we start laying the groundwork for our counterattack.
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot to back it up right now.
Then build alliances. Gather everything and everybody you can for the cause.
What about the Prothean device?
Find me people who can help build it, and if you can't, I'll take ships, soldiers, supplies, whatever you can get. We need to keep hitting the Reapers across every theater of war they open. Buy us time to figure out the device.
And when it's finished?
Assuming it ever is, we pool all our resources. Think of it as a giant armada for delivering the device when the Reapers are most vulnerable. The stronger you can make that armada, the better the chances of punching through.
What about Earth, sir?
We'll just have to hope Anderson and what's left of the Alliance forces can hold out until we've dealt with the enemy.
I understand.
Good. Then make it happen, Commander. I'll be expecting regular updates on your progress. hack it out.
Okay, so I'll just give you a quick tour of the Normandy, which functions as a player home base, much like Mass Effect 2. At the rear of the ship is the War Room. As we progress through the main quest, various characters will hitch a ride with us and hang out here, where we can pump them for more info. The console shows you how many war assets you've acquired. We'll pick up most of them from the main quest line, but side quests and imports will provide a generous amount as well. Multiplayer sessions increase your war asset multiplier, making it easier to get the better endings.
I can't believe the Council won't help.
Come on, Sarah. If Thessia was lost and Earth hadn't been touched yet, you can be damn sure we'd be guarding our own borders.
Hey, Commander. You know, I had my doubts about the Council. But after years of ignoring your warnings, they're finally willing to step up and tell you they just can't help.
Our old pilot and comic relief Joker is back.
Think they'd be prepared now?
I was kind of hoping that maybe they were planning in secret and just not telling you about it because, you know, Cerberus. Well, let me know if you want me to get them on the channel and then hang up on them, you know, for old time's sake.
Joker provides commentary following each mission, again as in Mass Effect 2. However, he's not alone in this anymore. BioWare have taken pains to make the Normandy feel more dynamic, with characters visiting different areas of the ship after missions, reacting to various plot events.
Sanctum. Admiral Hackett would like you to investigate.
Once again, the terminal is a source of extra story information from various emails. You can also watch tutorial videos in here in case you've forgotten core game mechanics. The captain's cabin is an area that players can personalise with fish, model ships and DLC trophies. This is usually the most appealing aspect of any player stronghold in a game, a chance to directly affect a portion of the game world, a space that fully belongs to the player. One of the things I liked about Mass Effect 2 was the use of the Normandy space as a kind of progress meter / exploration minigame. Most of the rooms on the Normandy were locked off until you recruited the appropriate crew member. It was a nice little mechanic that added a little extra reward for completing missions. So not only did you have somebody new to take into combat, you also had a whole new area of the ship in which to talk to them. It was also an opportunity to add further characterization. Mass Effect 3 doesn't do this so much. Characters usually have preferred spots, but almost all of them are already open. And as said, they'll often change places or visit other areas on the ship. Liara's little hacker den is an example of the kind of characterization that I mentioned earlier. It's a lot better than her store cupboard from the first game.
Commander Shepard, it's a pleasure to see you again.
You're the drone from the Shadow Broker's ship.
Dr. Tassoni now refers to me as Glyph instead of Info Drone, 95% of the time. If you have a moment, I'd like to draw your attention to a terminal in her office. It analyzes information packages. If you find any useful data, I can research upgrades for you.
And what should I be looking for?
I'll inform you if you've found relevant data. When you do, return to this terminal for your choices. In the meantime, Dr. Tassoni would like to speak with you. Have a pleasant day.
Meeting with the council didn't go too well, huh?
It was less than ideal.
I'm shocked.
At least the council can't deny the Reapers exist. But I'm not sure how much comfort that is while they bicker over which portion of the galaxy to save.
Wow. Becoming the big info brokers turned you into a real cynic, Liara. I like it.
I'm flattered. I think.
Looks like you brought more than just that drone from your ship.
A few things were necessary. I'd be a very silent shadow broker without data feeds.
So you have access to your resources?
What I can get. We'll need it to research this Prothean device. Until we understand precisely what it does, it's far too dangerous to use.
Did the Protheans actually complete this weapon?
You mean, will it work? They wouldn't have poured their last resources into this device if they thought otherwise. But we really need to find out just what kind of weapon they left us.
We can figure out what it does later. Our priority's getting it built.
Just give me some warning before you flip the switch. People were finally starting to listen before the Reapers came. If we'd had a little more time, maybe Earth wouldn't. I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to talk about it.
There's still a lot of people alive down there. I have to remember that.
You will. It's the war we warned everyone about for years. And if I know you, Shepard, you'll make them proud.
The Shadow Broker Terminal is another source of story information.
Correspondence from your allied forces. Dr. Tassoni has granted you access.
Glyph's little computer is a source of upgrades. You find relevant pickups on missions, bring them here, and get a choice of 2 different upgrades.
Please, enjoy your day.
Aside from functioning alcoholic Dr. Chakwas, the med bay contains terminals that let you reassign powers and heal your morality meter wounds, those big red scars on Shepard's face that get worse if you take renegade actions a lot. Engineering is where we'll find Engineer Adams, who was on the crew in Mass Effect 1. Later in the game, we'll be able to pardon Gabby and Ken, 2 interesting engineers from Mass Effect 2.
Commander, welcome back to the Normandy. Or maybe you should be saying that to me.
Engineer Adams, what are you doing here?
I was put in charge of the drive core retrofits. My experience on the Normandy SR-1 made me an obvious choice.
So, what do you think of our SR-2?
She's incredible. If there's one nice thing I can say about Cerberus, it's that they know how to build a ship. And about that, Cerberus, I mean, I owe you an apology.
How so?
Back when you got this ship, Dr. Chakwas contacted me, asking me to help with your mission against the Collectors. I refused. I didn't have your back, and I'm sorry for that.
Why didn't you join us?
I saw what happened to you when the Normandy went down. I didn't trust that it was really you, and I certainly didn't trust Cerberus. Also, as an officer of the Alliance, I don't just leave my post, you know?
Your Alliance first. That's the way it should be.
Thank you, Commander. Glad to be aboard.
Carry on, Adams.
Aye, aye, sir.
This deck is also where we'd find Diana Allers, the war reporter and official IGN tie-in, voiced by Jessica Chobot. Apparently this crossover with gaming journalism is supposed to appeal to people. Personally, I'd rather not give her the screen time. finally, the shuttle bay is where we can check our weapons and purchase supplies between missions. It is also where we'll usually find James Vega and also our shuttle pilot, Steve Cortez.
Lieutenant Steve Cortez, shuttle pilot. Got news about our supply chains, Commander.
Good work, Lieutenant. What have you got?
Dios, straight to business without even a hello? You two need to chill out.
So you do care, Mr. Vega? Or is that the Cerveza talking again?
Cortez is the gay romance interest for Mass Effect 3. He has a fairly typical plot where you help him overcome emotional issues in exchange for a relationship, but this is still better than the sleazy shower scene for trainer and female shepherds. Now, I don't particularly want to follow any particular romance in this playthrough, but I'll let the thread decide what to do.
Setting up procurement chains?
I wasn't assigned as Normandy's pilot. Not much need for one on a dry dock ship. I was overseeing the retrofit of the cargo hold. I'm quite familiar with the operation and maintenance of the UT-47 Kodiak and the M44 Hammerhead. From my experience, it made sense for me to take over as shuttle pilot when we left Earth. Especially given Mr. Vega's love of mid-air collisions.
To save the day, pendejo.
I'm also responsible for logistics, making sure the armory and shuttle are properly stocked and maintained.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, Commander.
The galaxy map works much like Mass Effect 2. You fly the Normandy from location to location. Interstellar travel costs fuel, which must be replenished in the system or from the Citadel. Right-clicking pings the map, which can reveal war assets or side quest items. Multiple pings alert Reapers, which chase the Normandy in that system and force a game over if they catch up. Completing a ground mission will reset the Reaper alert. Remember what I said about side quests earlier? There's a concept in game design called busy work. Essentially, it's when a game makes you do near pointless tasks that consume time and provide little benefit, or at least little benefit to you. It's all the activities you do that aren't playing the game. So, for example, shuffling and dealing cards, or making change in Monopoly, painting wargame miniatures, inventory management in Everwinter Nights, or travelling the world in World of Warcraft. Games usually trend towards eliminating or reducing busy work because it's not very engaging for players, but sometimes it serves a purpose. So for example, again, you need to shuffle cards to stop card games from becoming predictable and boring. But it doesn't just have to be practical. Busy work can have more ephemeral effects as well. I bring this up because exploring the galaxy map is a kind of busy work. I mean, there's kind of a game-ish aspect to it, with evading alerted Reapers, but sweeping systems, pinging for assets is pretty humdrum rote stuff. It's easy to dismiss as make work, as repetitive, time-wasting tedium, especially more so with the version used in Mass Effect 2, where scanning took longer and there was no Reaper punishment. But in this case, busy work acts as a pacing mechanism. You can't just receive the war assets for finding systems, but have to manually ping and scan planets to find what you need. It's a way to generate a low energy, low impact time for the player, to help break up what would otherwise be constant third person shooting action. Another way to generate this low energy time is side quests. Here we see the flip side of the coin, where busy work has been reduced so much it loses all meaning. So in previous games, side quests involved finding the quest giver, usually by exploring, talking to them, completing the quest, returning to the NPC, and having the final dialogue. Side quests were also often time consuming, maybe too much so, but they were a useful distraction from the critical plot path. Mass Effect 3 and, as I understand it, Dragon Age 2 cut down a lot of the intermediate steps, so many of these quests now just require you to find an object and then turn it in. Even very small steps, like opening dialogue, have been cut in favour of floating barks. it reduces the amount of time needed to complete these side quests, which means that although they still count as busy work, the player isn't getting very much low energy time out of completing them, which means that they aren't fulfilling their purpose as distractions from the main path, which means they aren't helping to pace the game appropriately. Myself, I'm not too upset about this sort of thing. There's still the galaxy map in general, but it does explain why these little quests feel so unfulfilling. Luckily, there are more substantive side quests elsewhere in the game.